Imagine soaring through the clouds at 35,000 feet, far away from the flashing cameras of Incheon Airport and the deafening screams of millions of fans. In the silent, luxurious sanctuary of the first-class cabin, the mask of celebrity often slips away, revealing the raw, unfiltered truth of a person's character. Today, we aren't looking at Billboard charts or sold-out stadium records. Instead, we are diving deep into the confidential testimonies of those who see it, all the flight attendants of Korean Air. These professionals are trained to provide the gold standard of service, but even they have been left speechless by the behavior of the world's biggest boy band. Who among the 7 legends remains the most grounded when the world is literally beneath their feet? Is it the leader who carries the weight of the group, or the youngest who grew up in the spotlight? We've gathered the most heartwarming, surprising, and deeply moving stories from the galley to the cabin. Have you ever wondered if global fame erodes the simple manners learned in childhood, or if these superstars are truly the paragons of virtue they appear to be? What happens when a tired idol is woken up for a meal, or how do they react when a flight experiences turbulence? The answers might just change the way you look at your bias forever. We are about to uncover the secret rankings of politeness that have been whispered in crew lounges for years. Get ready for an emotional journey through the clouds as we explore the genuine souls behind the global phenomenon. Let's pull back the curtain on this high-altitude mystery and reveal the true icons of politeness in our countdown of the most humble BTS members in the sky. Would you like to see who starts our list at number 7? Number 7, RM, the quiet scholar of the skies, a leader's silent grace. The hum of the Boeing 747's engines creates a rhythmic sanctuary above the Pacific Ocean, a place where the world's most influential leader can finally shed the weight of the crown and just be Kim Namjoon. When we talk about RM, we aren't just talking about a rapper or a producer. We are talking about a man who carries the cultural diplomacy of an entire nation on his shoulders. Yet according to the elite crew members of Korean Air, his presence in the first-class cabin is marked by a profound, almost startling silence. Imagine the scene. While other high-profile VVIPs might demand constant attention or specific vintages of wine, Namjoon enters the cabin with a stack of heavy art books and a pair of thick-rimmed glasses, looking more like a PhD student than a global icon. The flight attendants, who are trained to anticipate every need before a passenger even thinks of it, have shared stories of how Namjoon often politely declines the more extravagant services. One specific testimony from a senior crew member recalls a grueling 13-hour flight to New York, where RM spent nearly the entire duration reading and taking notes in a journal. What struck the crew wasn't just his intellectual focus, but the way he interacted with the staff during the meal service. Most passengers in first class expect a certain level of subservience, but Namjoon treats every interaction as a peer-to-peer exchange. He doesn't just say thank you as a reflex, he makes eye contact, offers a small, genuine bow of the head, and ensures that his tray is organized and easy for the attendant to remove. This level of spatial awareness is rare among the elite. There's a specific story circulating in the crew lounges about a time a flight attendant accidentally bumped his arm while he was deeply engrossed in a book. Before the staff member could even begin a formal apology, Namjoon was already smiling, apologizing himself for having his elbows out too far and making sure the flight attendant wasn't flustered. This is a man who understands the power he holds, yet chooses to minimize his footprint to make the work of others easier. Have you ever considered how difficult it must be to remain that conscious of others when you are exhausted from a world tour? The cabin crew often reflects on how RM's behavior sets the tone for the entire group's reputation. He isn't number 7 because he lacks politeness. Far from it, he is the foundation. His politeness is academic, steady, and deeply rooted in a sense of duty to be a good adult. As the cabin lights dim and the rest of the world sleeps, Namjoon remains a silent, respectful sentinel of the skies, leaving his seat tidier than he found it. It's these small, almost invisible gestures, folding his own blanket, stacking his magazines neatly, and speaking in a low, modulated tone to avoid disturbing others that make the Korean Air staff whisper about him with such high regard. He represents the intellectual humble, a man who knows that true status isn't about how much you can demand, but how little you can inconvenience those around you. But if the leader is this composed, what happens when we look at the members who are known for their chaotic energy on screen? Does that energy translate to the cabin, or is there a hidden side to them that only the clouds have seen? As we move up this list, the stories become even more personal, revealing instances of kindness that brought veteran flight attendants to the brink of tears. Are you ready to discover which member left a handwritten note that is still talked about in training sessions today? The journey is just beginning, and the heights of their humility might just exceed the altitude of the plane itself. Number 6. Suga, the silent soul of the cabin, a masterclass in quiet respect. As the cabin pressure stabilizes and the seatbelt sign flickers off, a different kind of energy settles into the first-class suite where Min Yoongi, known to the world as the fierce and fire-spitting Suga, finds his temporary home among the clouds. To the uninitiated, Yoongi might seem like the most distant member. He often wears his hoodie pulled low, a bucket hat shielding his eyes, and noise-canceling headphones, forming a barrier between him and the chaotic reality of global fame. However, for the veteran flight attendants of Korean Air who have seen it all from demanding CEOs to pampered heirs, Suga is a breath of fresh, high-altitude air. The narratives shared in the galley during the long, dark hours of a trans-Pacific flight often highlight his quiet respect, a form of politeness that doesn't need loud words or grand gestures to be felt. Imagine the sheer exhaustion of a man who spends hours pouring his soul into music, only to board a flight where everyone wants a piece of his time. Yet, when the flight attendant approaches to offer the pre-departure beverage or explain the specialized menu, Yoongi does something that many in his position forget to do. He removes his headphones entirely. This small act of removing one's shield is a massive sign of respect in the service industry, acknowledging the humanity of the person standing before him. Crew members recall that he is incredibly low maintenance, often skipping the elaborate multi-course meals to catch up on much-needed sleep, yet he does so with such a gentle, "No thank you, I'm okay," that it leaves the staff feeling appreciated rather than rejected. There is a legendary story among the crew about a flight where the turbulence was particularly violent, causing the service to be delayed and the staff to be visibly stressed. While other passengers might have voiced frustration about their delayed champagne or warm nuts, Suga remained perfectly still, and when a flight attendant eventually came by to check on him, he simply looked up and asked, "Are you okay? It must be hard to work while the plane is shaking like this." This moment of empathy, shifting the focus from his own comfort to the safety and well-being of the worker, is exactly why he earns this spot. His politeness is tsundere in nature. It's cold on the outside, but deeply warm on the inside. He doesn't perform for the cameras. There are no fans watching him in the middle of the night over the ocean, yet he remains the same humble boy from Daegu who once had to choose between a bus ticket and a meal. That history is etched into every interaction he has with the service staff. He knows what it's like to work hard, to be tired, and to be overlooked, and he ensures that no member of the Korean Air crew feels that way in his presence. He often leaves his seating area remarkably tidy, stacking his pillows and folding the heavy duvet as if he were a guest in someone's home rather than a customer who paid thousands of dollars for a ticket. The reflection here is profound. Suga's humility isn't about being nice, it's about being just. He treats the flight attendant not as a servant, but as a professional doing a difficult job. This level of maturity is what makes him a favorite among the older, more experienced crew members who value substance over style. They describe him as a calm sea, deep, quiet, and possessing a strength that doesn't need to shout. As he sleeps or works on his laptop, producing the next global hit in the silence of the cabin, he leaves an indelible mark on the crew's hearts. It's the way he bows his head slightly when receiving a bottle of water, the way he uses honorifics even when he's half asleep, and the way he never, ever makes a scene. In the high-stakes environment of international travel, where tempers often flare, Suga is a pillar of stoic kindness. But as we climb higher in our ranking, we encounter members whose politeness is even more proactive, almost legendary in how it bridges the gap between superstar and ordinary person. If Suga is the quiet respect, who is the member who actually goes out of his way to make the flight attendants laugh and feel like part of the family? The next member on our list is someone whose smile is said to light up even the darkest overnight flight, making the grueling work feel like a privilege. Are you ready to see which member's radiant energy makes him a consensus favorite among the Korean Air elite? Let's move forward to the next level of this emotional journey. Number 5. Jin, the world's most handsome heart, a master of humor and humility. As the golden rays of the setting sun pierce through the oval windows of a Boeing 777, casting long, elegant shadows across the plush leather of the first-class suites, we find the man known to the world as worldwide handsome, Kim Sok-jin. To the millions of ARMY worldwide, Jin is the king of confidence, the man who blows kisses to cameras and declares his own beauty with a playful wink. But to the seasoned flight attendants of Korean Air, he is a revelation of a completely different kind. You see, in the high-pressure environment of a long-haul flight across the Atlantic, where the air is thin and the fatigue is thick, Jin's true character shines brighter than any stage light ever could. The flight attendants often whisper about the Jin effect, a phenomenon where the entire mood of the galley lifts the moment he steps on board. While some celebrities use their status to build walls of cold professionalism, Jin uses his to build bridges of warmth and laughter. Crew members have shared stories of being incredibly nervous to serve him, their hands literally shaking as they prepared his meal service, only for Jin to break the ice with one of his legendary dad jokes. He has this uncanny, almost magical ability to sense when a staff member is feeling pressured, and he immediately pivots to make himself the clown, just to put them at ease. Imagine a global superstar, a man whose face is on billboards from Seoul to New York, leaning in to whisper a silly pun to a junior flight attendant just to see them smile. That is the essence of Soo Jin's humility. But it goes much deeper than just jokes. It's about a profound, ingrained respect for the labor of others. In the culinary world of first class, where the food is prepared by top chefs and served with silver service, Jin is known as the dream passenger. Why? Because he treats every meal as if it were a 5-star gift. Flight attendants recall how he eats with such genuine gusto and appreciation, often finishing every single morsel on his plate. In Korean culture, finishing your food is a silent thank you to the person who prepared and served it, and Jin performs this act of respect on every flight. One particular story from a long-term purser describes Jin proactively helping to tidy up his own suite before the descent. Instead of leaving a mountain of used napkins and crumpled magazines for the crew to deal with during their busiest time, he stacks his trays neatly and even folds his pajamas back into their original bag. When the attendant came to collect his items, he looked up with that famous smile and said, "I didn't want to make your work harder. You've already taken such good care of me." This isn't just politeness. It's a reflection of his role as the Taehyung, or the eldest brother of BTS. He has spent over a decade taking care of 6 younger brothers, and that caretaking instinct naturally extends to everyone he meets, including the cabin crew. He understands that the person pouring his tea is someone's daughter or son, a professional who deserves to be treated with dignity. There's a specific detail that often gets mentioned in crew lounges: the way Jin uses both hands to receive a glass of water or a menu. This is a traditional Korean sign of high respect towards someone, usually reserved for elders, yet Jin applies it to the flight attendants, regardless of their age or rank. It's these micro-gestures of humility that prove his character isn't a performance for the cameras. It's the way he maintains his composure and kindness even when he's being woken up from a deep sleep for a landing check. Most people are grumpy when they are sleep-deprived, but Jin? He wakes up, bows his head, and thanks the crew for the wake-up call. The reflection here is powerful. Jin's worldwide handsome title isn't just about his face, it's about the beauty of a soul that refuses to look down on anyone. He occupies this spot at number 5 because he transforms the hierarchy of a first-class cabin into a space of mutual human respect. He proves that you can be at the very top of the world and still be the person who makes sure the person serving you feels seen and appreciated. Every time he flies, he leaves behind a trail of flight attendants who aren't just fans of his music, but fans of his humanity. But as we move higher into the top 4, we encounter members whose level of politeness is so intense that it actually leaves the crew feeling scolded by how kind they are. How is it possible to be so humble that it makes others want to be better people just by being in your presence? The next member on our list is someone whose reputation for being an angel isn't just a nickname, it's a lifestyle that begins the moment he steps into the airport terminal. Are you ready to see who has the power to turn a simple flight into a spiritual experience of kindness? Number 4. J-Hope. The golden standard of meticulous manners, the cleaning fairy of the skies. As we ascend higher into this exclusive ranking, we encounter a member whose reputation within the airline industry is so pristine that it has become a benchmark for all other VVIP passengers. We are talking about the sunshine of the group, Young Ho-seok, or J-Hope. To the world, he is a fashion icon and a dance prodigy, but to the flight attendants of Korean Air, he is known by a much more intimate and reverent nickname, the Cleaning Fairy. Imagine the scene in the first-class cabin after a grueling 13-hour flight across the ocean. Usually, this is the time when the crew faces their most difficult task, cleaning up the aftermath of luxury travel, which often includes crumpled silk blankets, discarded newspapers, and the remnants of fine dining scattered across the suite. But when J-Hope is the passenger, the crew often finds themselves standing in front of his seat in absolute disbelief. There is a famous testimony from a crew member who served him during a flight to Europe. She described how, upon his departure, his suite looked as if it hadn't even been occupied. The blanket was folded with precision, the pillows were stacked neatly, and most incredibly, he had organized his own service tray. He didn't just leave his trash, he separated the recyclables and stacked the dishes so the attendant could carry them with ease. This isn't just a matter of being neat, it is a profound statement of empathy. J-Hope understands the physical toll that long-haul flights take on the cabin crew. He knows that while the world sees the glamour of the uniform, the reality involves hours of heavy lifting and constant service. By tidying his own space, he is essentially saying, "I see your hard work, and I want to make it easier for you." This level of consideration is almost unheard of in the world of high-profile celebrities. But his politeness doesn't stop at tidiness. The hope in his name is a living, breathing reality on every flight. Flight attendants have noted that even when he is visibly exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes from a packed schedule, he never fails to greet every single staff member he encounters. When he walks through the galley to stretch his legs, he doesn't just walk past the crew with his head down. He offers a warm, genuine smile and a polite nod, often asking the crew if they have had a chance to eat yet. This reversal of roles, the superstar checking on the well-being of the staff, is what makes him a legend in the sky. There is a deep emotional reflection to be found here. J-Hope's manners are a reflection of his discipline. As the son of a teacher, he carries an innate sense of order and respect that hasn't been eroded by the intoxicating fumes of global fame. He treats the aircraft cabin not as a playground where he can demand service, but as a shared space where mutual respect is the primary currency. His interactions are characterized by the frequent use of high-level honorifics, a linguistic sign of respect in Korea that many celebrities tend to drop once they reach a certain status. But not Hoseok. He speaks to the junior-most flight attendant with the same level of formal respect as he would a CEO. This consistency is the true test of character. Have you ever wondered how someone can maintain such a bright, positive aura when the world is constantly watching and judging? J-Hope's secret lies in his ability to remain grounded, even when he's literally at the highest altitude possible. He remains at number 4 because his politeness is proactive and meticulous. He doesn't just respond to kindness, he initiates it. He leaves the crew feeling energized and respected, turning a routine flight into a memorable human connection. But as we move into the top 3, we enter the territory of the incredible triumvirate. The stories ahead move from being merely polite to being truly transformative. The next member on our list is someone whose gentleness is so legendary that it has been described as angelic by everyone from pilots to ground staff. How does one person's presence manage to calm an entire cabin? And who is the member who actually remembered a flight attendant's name from a flight several years prior? The stakes are getting higher and the emotions are about to overflow. Are you ready to see who takes the bronze medal in the ranking of the most humble souls in the sky? Number 3. Jimin, the angel of the atmosphere, a presence that heals the skies. As we cross the threshold into the top 3, the atmosphere of our narrative shifts from simple admiration to a sense of genuine awe. We are now talking about a member whose reputation for kindness is so legendary that it has transcended the walls of the Korean air training centers and become a staple story shared among international crews. We are talking about Park Jimin. To the world, he is the stage commander, a man of sharp movements and ethereal vocals, but to those who serve him at 30,000 feet, he is often described as a living angel who possesses a warmth that can melt the coldest cabin air. The testimonies regarding Jimin are uniquely emotional. They don't just focus on what he did, but how he made the crew feel. Imagine a senior flight attendant, someone who has served world leaders, royalty, and the most demanding billionaires for over 20 years, suddenly finding herself moved to the point of reflection by a single passenger. This is the Jimin effect in the sky. One of the most famous stories circulating in the industry involves a flight where the cabin crew was severely understaffed due to a last-minute illness. leaving the remaining attendants feeling overwhelmed and physically drained. During the meal service, Jimin noticed the subtle signs of their stress, the slightly hurried pace, the forced smiles, the beads of sweat. Instead of focusing on his own needs, he waited until the service was over, walked to the galley, and did something that left the staff speechless. He didn't just say thank you. He looked the senior purser in the eye and said, "Please don't worry about me. Take your time to rest. You are doing an amazing job, and I am in no hurry." This wasn't a rehearsed line for a camera. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered empathy from one human being to another. But his humility goes even deeper into the realm of traditional respect. In Korea, the way one sits and handles objects says everything about their upbringing, and Jimin is a master of these silent manners. Flight attendants have noted that Jimin often sits in a posture of extreme politeness throughout the entire flight, knees together, back straight as if he is a guest in a sacred space. When he is handed a hot towel or a menu, he doesn't just take it. He bows his head so deeply while sitting that his forehead nearly touches his knees. This level of 90-degree respect towards service staff is practically unheard of in the first-class cabin. He treats every interaction as a formal ceremony of gratitude. There is a deeply moving detail shared by a junior flight attendant who was working her very first international flight. She was terrified of making a mistake, especially in front of a global superstar. When she accidentally spilled a small amount of water on the side of his table, she felt her heart drop, fearing a complaint that could ruin her career. Before she could even gasp, Jimin had already grabbed his own napkin and was wiping the water, telling her with the softest voice, "It's okay, I'm actually the clumsy one. Thank you for the water, it's exactly what I needed." He took her mistake and turned it into a moment of shared humor to protect her dignity. This is the reflection of a soul that refuses to let anyone feel inferior. Jimin's politeness isn't just a habit, it's an active choice to be a source of light. He is known to leave handwritten notes on the small stationery provided in the suite, not just "thank you," but personalized messages like, "To the crew who worked so hard today, please have a safe journey home and eat a delicious meal." These notes are often kept by flight attendants as lucky charms, laminated and stored in their flight bags as a reminder of why they chose this profession. He occupies the number 3 spot because he doesn't just follow the rules of etiquette, he heals the people around him with his presence. He makes the galley, which is often a place of high-stress gossip and fatigue, into a place of inspiration. The flight attendants of Korean Air don't just see him as a celebrity, they see him as a son of Korea who makes them proud to represent the same culture. He understands that his fame is a platform, and he uses it to elevate the status of every ordinary worker he meets. But as we move toward the final 2 spots, we encounter stories that are almost unbelievable instances where the line between superstar and family becomes completely blurred. Who could possibly be more polite than the angel himself? The next member is someone whose level of humility is so natural and pure that it has left veteran pilots coming out of the cockpit just to witness it for themselves. Are you ready to see who takes the silver medal in our ranking of the most humble legends of the air? The mystery is about to reach its peak. Number 2, Taehyung, the soulful wanderer of the sky, pure heart in a high-altitude world. There is a specific kind of silence that exists in the first-class cabin during a night flight over the Atlantic, a soft, pressurized hum that usually acts as a backdrop for the most sophisticated service in the world. Yet when Kim Taehyung, known to the world as V, steps onto the aircraft, the very air seems to shift into something more soulful and grounded. To the global public, Taehyung is a fashion icon, a man with a CGV face that looks like it was sculpted by the gods themselves, and a performer who can command a stadium of 80,000 people with a single glance. But to the flight attendants of Korean Air who have had the privilege of serving him, he is remembered for something far more profound than his beauty. He is remembered for his purity. Imagine a world where you are constantly surrounded by high-end luxury and intense scrutiny, yet you somehow maintain the wide-eyed wonder of a young boy from Gyeochang. That is the essence of Taehyung in the sky. Senior flight attendants have shared countless stories about how V doesn't just sit in his seat, he settles into it like it's a cozy corner of a family home, often seen wearing comfortable, oversized clothes and a gentle expression that immediately disarms the professional stiffness of the crew. One of the most famous testimonies from an airline staff member involves a late-night flight where Taehyung spent hours simply staring out the window at the stars, listening to old-school jazz on his headphones, and looking so peaceful that the crew felt a sense of calm just being near him. What truly sets him apart at number 2 on our list is his incredible ability to see the person behind the uniform. In the service industry, especially in the elite world of first-class travel, staff are often treated as invisible facilitators of comfort, but Taehyung breaks that wall every single time. Crew members recall how he makes deliberate, soulful eye contact when he asks for something, usually a simple request, like a cup of warm milk or some snacks, and he does it with a smile that is so genuine it feels like a gift. There is a legendary story about a junior flight attendant who was so starstruck she accidentally stuttered while explaining the wine list. Instead of being annoyed or showing the diva behavior often expected of top-tier celebrities, Taehyung leaned in with a playful, encouraging grin and told her, "Take your time, I'm just happy to be here," which immediately dissolved her anxiety. This is a man who understands the weight of his own presence and uses it specifically to uplift those around him. He is known to be incredibly curious, often asking the crew small, polite questions about their well-being or the aircraft itself, showing a level of human interest that is rare among VVIPs. His politeness is not a series of practiced bows or formal phrases, though he uses those too. Rather, it is a natural humility that seems to flow out of him like music. Reflection on his character reveals a man who has never lost touch with his roots. Despite the private jets and the global tours, he treats the flight attendant with the same respect he would show an elder in his hometown. He is the kind of passenger who, when the plane hits turbulence, will look at the crew with a concerned, "Are you okay?" before thinking of his own safety. This deep-seated empathy is what makes him a consistent favorite in the Korean aircrew lounges. They describe him as a gentle soul who leaves a trail of warmth wherever he goes. There's a detail often mentioned where he would leave his seat remarkably organized, not because he was told to, but because he genuinely didn't want the staff to have to bend down too many times to pick up his things. He is a man of small gestures, a nod of appreciation when his tray is taken, a soft thank you for a blanket, and a way of speaking that makes the staff feel like they are valued professionals rather than just service workers. He occupies this spot because he brings a sense of home to the sky, proving that even a global superstar can remain a pure-hearted boy at heart. His interactions are never transactional, they are always human. As he sleeps under the soft cabin lights, dreaming of art and music, the crew watches over him with a sense of protective affection, not because he is a star, but because he is a truly kind person. But as we stand at the threshold of the number 1 spot, the question remains: who could possibly be more polite, more humble, and more beloved by the airline staff than the angel of the atmosphere and the soulful wanderer? We are about to reveal the member who has been unanimously voted as the king of politeness, a person whose behavior is so impeccable it has redefined the standard of human decency for everyone who meets him. Are you ready for the final revelation, the peak of our journey through the clouds, and the identity of the most humble member of BTS in the eyes of those who see them at their most vulnerable? Number 1. Jungkook. The golden standard of human decency, a maknae whose humility defies gravity. As we reach the absolute pinnacle of our countdown, the cabin air seems to hold its breath in anticipation of the name that has become synonymous with perfection in the eyes of every Korean air crew member who has ever walked the aisles of a first-class cabin. We are talking about the golden maknae, Jungkook. You might think that being the world's most famous pop star, a man who broke the internet and the music charts before he even turned 25, would lead to even a hint of entitlement, but the reality is quite the opposite. According to the collective testimonies of senior pursers, junior attendants, and even the ground staff who handle the boarding process, Jungkook isn't just polite, he is a walking, breathing lesson in human decency. Imagine the scene. It's 3 a.m. over the dark expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Most passengers are hidden behind their privacy screens, but Jungkook is often found sitting quietly, perhaps working on his music or watching a film, yet his awareness of the crew's presence is uncanny. The flight attendants describe a level of manners that feels almost otherworldly. One legendary story from a veteran flight attendant describes a moment when Jungkook was being served a meal. As she placed each dish down, he didn't just give a simple nod. He performed a seated bow for every single item: the water, the appetizer, the main course, and the tea. By the end of the meal service, he had bowed nearly 20 times. This isn't just habit. It's a deep-seated recognition of the effort another human is putting in for his comfort. But what truly places him at the undisputed number 1 spot is his cleaning habit. While we mention J-Hope as the cleaning fairy, Jungkook's level of tidiness is described by crew members as obsessive respect. There are reports of flight attendants entering his suite after he has left the plane and finding the space in a condition that looked better than when he arrived. He doesn't just fold the blanket, he aligns the edges perfectly. He doesn't just stack the dishes, he uses napkins to wipe away any small spills or crumbs from the table before the crew even arrives to clear it. One crew member shared a deeply moving reflection, stating that she once tried to take a used tissue from his side table, and Jungkook actually apologized to her for making her touch his trash, insisting on taking it to the galley himself. Can you imagine? A global icon, a man whose time is worth millions, feeling guilty for making a professional do their job. This level of self-awareness is why he is the king of politeness. His background as the youngest member of BTS, essentially raised by 6 older brothers in the harsh light of the industry, has forged a character that is both resilient and incredibly soft. The crew often notes that he speaks in a voice so soft and respectful that they have to lean in to hear him, yet his eyes are always fixed on theirs with genuine sincerity. There is no celebrity mask with Jungkook. What you see on stage, that raw, hard-working energy, is exactly what the crew sees in the galley. He has been known to help flight attendants with the heavy overhead bins for other passengers if he sees them struggling, acting not as a VVIP, but as a young man who was simply taught to help his elders. One flight attendant recalled a particularly long flight where Jungkook noticed her looking tired and offered her a snack from his own bag, a gesture that brought her to the verge of tears because of the sheer normalcy and kindness of it. He doesn't see himself as a star being served by staff. He sees a group of people working hard together to get to a destination. His insa, bowing, is famous even among the pilot crew. He is known to stand by the door as he exits and bow 90 degrees to every single person, from the captain to the cleaning crew waiting on the jet bridge. This is why the flight attendants of Korean Air don't just like serving him, they feel honored by his presence. He represents the very best of Korean culture and the very best of what a human being can be when they reach the top of the world. He proves that the higher you fly, the more important it is to keep your feet on the ground, or in his case, on the plush carpet of the first-class cabin with a heart full of gratitude. He is the ultimate number one because he hasn't just mastered the art of singing or dancing, he has mastered the art of being a good person. As the cabin doors close and the journey ends, his name remains whispered in the hallways of Korean Air as a reminder that true greatness is always humble.